Priya, all set?
Yes, ma'am, we are all set. Shall we begin?
2 more minutes to go. So
Okay,
my
ma'am.
watch. Welcome, Akshita ji.
Thank you, Bhanumati ji. Thank you so much.
All eagerly waiting. You look so lovely today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anamika ji, welcome. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me now, Anamika ji? Okay, thank you. So Priya, in another minute.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, Priya, I think we can start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the one-day interdisciplinary webinar organized by the Department of English, Arya Mahila Postgraduate College, in collaboration with the Indic Warriors. Among us, we have an eminent guest speaker, Akshita Bhadauria, ma'am. She's a journalist with OP India and has her own YouTube channel called Akshita Speaks. We welcome you, ma'am. We also extend a warm welcome to the Indic Warriors and the Arya Mahila Postgraduate family. Thank you for joining us today. Before we move on to the scheduled part of the event, let me run the participants through a few rules. Your audios will be switched off throughout the event. Kindly switch off your videos to reduce the load on the network for a glitch-free event. In case of any queries, kindly put them in the chat box. Our speaker will address them during the question answer session. Towards the end of the event, we will share a feedback form. Ensure you have filled it. Your cooperation is highly appreciated. Moving on to the next part of the event, may I now request Dr. Bhanumati Mishra, ma'am, Head of Department of English, to kindly give us the welcome address and the introductory speech. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much, Riya. Akshita ji, a formal namaskar to you and welcome on behalf of IML PG College and the Department of English. I wholeheartedly welcome you to this much awaited, scintillating topic, cultural Marxism. Thank you so much for taking time out. Akshita ji, you know that you and I, we both share the same passion on culture, history, and politics. So I'm looking forward to what you have to say, because both of us have often spoken about our concern on how the next generation is being brainwashed by the Marxist theories, and how we need to counter them, and how we need to see the subtle way the poisoning is done. So talking on this, this topic is so vast, but I'm sure you will do a lot of justice in 1 hour. And on behalf of the manager, Dr. Shashikant Dikshit sir, and our honorable principal, Professor Rachna Dubeji, because both of them are a little busy. I think if Shashikant sir has joined us, then manager sir, are you there? I would request you to say a few
Yes,
words.
ma'am, he just joined us in.
Okay, you can ask him in case he wants to speak something, or otherwise at the end we can, have his blessings. Yes, sir, welcome. We have a speaker here, Akshita Bhadauria.
Yes, I am here. Hello. Yeah. Good morning.
Morning,
I
sir.
thank Department of English and all the students of MA, BA, and all the faculty members who are attending this cultural Marxism seminar, which has to be addressed by the learned speaker Akshita Bhadauria ji. So I wish all the best for this seminar, and Dr. Bhanumati ji, who has taken the initiative to guide their students, and especially I would like to thank your student, Dr. Shivangi Rai. She is very particular. Every Saturday, Sunday, she reminds me. So I give my blessings to Shivangi Rai and all the participants who are attending this seminar. Once again, I won't take much time. I would like to listen Dr. Akshita ji sometime if I get time. Thank you very much, Bhanumati, once again for taking this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, sir. I know how busy you are. You're a very busy doctor, medical doctor. And Akshita ji, you will be happy to know that this entire, series of webinars have been put together by the students. We've grouped them together and, into 6 in each group. And they work on the topic, the speaker, and I have also insisted that they interact with learned speakers like you and others, and they gain a lot of experience and knowledge by just interacting with you, and that experience is invaluable. So this entire credit of holding the webinars every Saturday and Sunday in the entire month of September goes to my students, and a big clap for them. Shivangi Rai is the class representative, and that's how she is the sutradhar in a way. Without much ado and coming in between students and you, I will once again thank you on behalf of Aryamela and Department of English. Thank you so much for your time and effort. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It is indeed a privilege to be introducing the next speaker to you. She is an ex-army officer and shares a huge amount of passion about cultural and historical problems of India. May I humbly request Major Gitanjali Gairola, ma'am, to kindly introduce the Indic warriors to our participants. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ria. Good morning, Jai Hind, Suprabhat, and Namaskaram to each one here, this August gathering here. I'm Major Gitanjali Garola. I'm a retired Army officer. I feel so honored to be part of this esteemed group of Indic warriors and express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Bhanumati to have made this possible. I feel so proud to be part of this group of Indic warriors, which is a group of students and mentors from all walks of life who work together towards the reviving of our rich Indic civilization. Our motto is to revive and instill Indian pride. We involve ourselves in our on-ground projects in Varanasi and other cities on social causes and research on scientific projects and career guidance. Now, with this background of our Indic warriors, I feel that yes, we are here to fight for a cause, which is dear to each one of us who's here today. Basically, our common ideology and mission makes us all our kinds, right? So today, being part of this group and a proud Bharatiya and a Hindu gives me some hope for a better cause. In today's scenario, when we are in a totally diverted form, when we come to talk of secularism, I, being an army officer myself, have seen, and I can say that I've been proudly associated with the defense forces, wherein we follow the secular spirit to the core, I would say. When I say so, I truly believe that we have been a true secular culture and civilization since time immemorial. Now, today I would say that somewhere I and many like me are truly intrigued to see how freaky this term secularism has become. It's now only limited to us and is misinterpreted and misused by many of the politicians. But alas, this is a debatable topic, and I'm sure we shall cover this in the times to come. Coming back to the essence of Hindutva, we as a culture have been very, very scientific and logical in all our approaches. How our social traditional ways of life was designed and something to be proud of forever. Even the general masses knew the importance of environment and the nature, and the customs and traditions were weaved in a way that each and every individual would worship, honored, and respected the things that were around us. Each and every aspect of nature was worshipped and respected. Even if it was a bird, an animal, a river, a mountain, everything was honored and respected. And this was the essence of our civilization, which is somehow, sadly so, I would say that it's getting misinterpreted and maybe lost in the times to come, and maybe somewhere we will revive it. That's what is the aim of this group, I would say. The caste system was not based on the social status and all that. It was purely a division of labor, which got distorted because of the reasons obvious to all of us. Now, coming to this, even the education system of ours was so highly developed that, even the prince would be getting trained with educated with a general mass, and he would learn the nuances of basic life, right? So good to see whatever was happening in our kind of a scenario. Now, to conclude, I would not take much time. We are getting short of time, so it's like a really big debate, so we can talk of all these things, but I would really want to conclude my talk with a small couplet by Manoj Muntashir Shukla. He's a very in poet these days. Oh, तेरी शान सदके कौन है क्या तेरी धूल से बढ़के, तेरी धूप की रोशन तेरी आप जिंदा, तू बात है मेरा मैं तेरा जिंदा, ये अर्ज है दीवाने की और सुहानी दे, रोज मेरी शाम हो, कभी याद करे जमाना, माटी पे मर मिट जाना, उस जिक्र में मेरा नाम हो. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, and God bless us all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
What an honor and privilege to be listening to you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request Ritu to kindly introduce the theme of today's webinar to the participants. Ritu, please take over.
Good afternoon, everyone. Marxism for most of the century has occupied the key to a utopian future, as argued by apostles from some of the best known universities around the world. If classical Marxism was about the haves pitted against the have-nots, cultural Marxism pits the oppressed against the oppressor. This morphed version of Marxism has been highly successful in penetrating into our academia and the minds of the students today. We have all known Indian culture as Sa Prathama Vishwavara, that is, the first and the supreme culture in the world. In this light, can we even think that culture and Marxism could go well together? The two terms taken together almost sound like an oxymoron. Cultural Marxism can be best understood as a tendency to deconstruct cultures, societies, and civilizations to their ostensible foundation in order to identify victims. Thus, the ideology cannot be thought to have reverence to Indian culture, and a dying ideology is most violent in its death throes. This webinar aims to understand how cultural Marxism is not any different from any vested interest industries. We will also explore the reason why India might be proving to be a formidable territory for it to conquer. Our guest speaker will also throw light on how this movement attracts large funds and why it should not be underestimated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritu. Before we hand over the session to our guest speaker, allow us to introduce Akshita ma'am to you. I request Shrishti to kindly give us the introduction.
Jai Hind everyone. These days, when we are conveniently presented with a painted picture of our own country, Bharat, by the outsiders, it becomes difficult to rely on a particular source of information for an unbiased view on what has been happening in the country. Our eminent guest speaker for today's session is Akshita Bhadauria ma'am, puts a lot of intellectual thought in her discussions about the current events of the country. Akshita ma'am is a young passionate entrepreneur who has started her own organization called Samyukt Bharat to serve Bharat and Dharma. She's a writer with Kopi India. She also has her own YouTube channel, Akshita Speaks, where she speaks unapologetically about the current situation in India, understanding and reviving our civilization, educating ourselves, and having informed discussions about our history and the real Bharat. She has really enlightening video series upon her channel, such as Indic Pathshala, Desh Ki Charcha, Stars Among Us, and many more. We welcome you, ma'am, and we are truly honored to have you. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session on cultural Marxism. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. It was absolutely a delight to listen to all of you. Very well planned, and it seems like we have a house full. So I sincerely hope that whatever I say, whatever I share with everybody is worth your time. Before we get into the discussion, I would just like to give a little bit background about myself. So yes, currently I work with Op India. I have my own channel and also my own organization. But let me tell you that this has not always been my background. So I come from a mass media background. So I did my graduation in mass media. I did my post-graduation in public relations and corporate communications. I then went on to work into the corporates, absolutely unknown about what's really happening around us, because I think most of us are wired that way, wherein, we look to educate ourselves really well, then look for a job, like a good paying, cushiony job. Then we look, how to plan our weekends, how to splurge the monies, and that is it. Monday to Friday, we really slog. What to do with the money is earned on Saturday, Sunday, that is it. So that is pretty much the kind of life that I have also lived for a very, very long time. However, I think I was very fortunate with the sudden turn of events in my life, wherein I found my purpose and I found, there is a lot to be done. There is something wrong about, our society where we are living. So for us, when we are in our four walls, either in the office or at home, everything seems to be really hunky-dory. Correct? And we never really bother to just take a leap outside the window, just peep and see what's really happening. There will be like, so just to give you an example, my first office was this huge building with glass facades, but then you look over and then there are shanties, and that's essentially how Bombay is. But it would never really occur to us that what is exactly happening in those shanties, because we're so comfortable in our air conditioned offices and planning what to order next, or how to spend our weekend, the coming weekend. That is all about it, right? But the lockdown really gave us an opportunity to look inwards, to try and understand, and that is something very similar that happened with me. So last lockdown, we were all at home. Of course, I had been doing my business. Business wasn't working well, of course, because of the lockdown, all thanks to the lockdown. So we had a lot of time in our hands. What to do? I am not a movie buff, unfortunately. I also did not spend a lot of time on social media. I did a little bit of Instagram, but Twitter was not my, go-to application at all. But then I had to utilize the time. What else are we going to do? How much are we going to, check YouTube videos for the next recipe? We were really done even cooking whatever cooking challenges that, had come. We were really done with that. So then I started spending a lot of time on Twitter, and that is when I came across certain objectionable videos of some so-called comedians, right? And I had been observing these patterns, not that I was completely ignorant, because I had always been interested since school days. I had been interested in current affairs. So I was kind of mindful or aware at least of what was happening. But again, we are wired in a way, like how Gitanjali ji also said, that we're brought up in a very secular setup. We're not brought up in a setup where we are made to, look down upon anyone or made to question any other religion. वो ऐसे क्यों कर रहे हैं, हम ऐसे क्यों कर रहे हैं? नहीं, वो अपना कर रहे हैं, हम अपना कर रहे हैं. That is a setup we are all really, born and brought up into. Same thing happened, but then when I came across those videos, and those had become like regular occurrences of joking on either Ram, Sita, Krishna, Gita, you name it, and they have jokes ready on it. Even our leaders, our freedom fighters. And then I realized that something is really wrong. I started then observing patterns, and to my surprise, which I otherwise thought were like rare occurrences, कि हाँ ठीक है, एक दो comedians आके शायद कभी कभार कुछ बोल दे होंगे. That was not the case at all. Turns out that it is a very regular occurrence, and not just in comedy or in the entertainment space. You talk about ad films, you talk about movies, you talk about songs, you talk about universities. Delhi University is famous for Nukkad Nataks. You see, the kind of, insults or जिस तरीके की बातें की जाती हैं सनातन के बारे में या हमारे भगवान के बारे में, it really started to bother me. So I started to read up more. I started to understand a little more. मैं देखने लगी. I became more observant, trying to see that what's really happening around me, and I started to find a pattern. I had put out a couple of videos, so I was just ranting in those videos, nothing else. But those were my emotions. Somehow I managed to connect with the audience. Those videos got viral. I started connecting with really amazing people who helped me understand that what really is happening with the society. That is how then I started with my channel. Again, because of my channel, I met some amazing people. I came across, new concepts, new ideologies, history, present, what may happen in the future. So these were the kind of questions I started asking, observing, answering, etc. Then for 6 months, like being a Twitter warrior, I realized that, I don't know how far can I go with that, because it's very easy actually. Not that it is not required. I'm not saying that, that is not to be done. Of course it is to be done. But something more needs to be done, right? So we can't just be on our social media. So that is how we came about the idea of Samyukta Bharata. But that is something that I will tell you about a little later. And then I was very fortunate, but like I said, my business, of course, toppled completely because of the lockdown, because I was in a marketing industry and I used to cater to the food and beverage or hospitality clients. Everything was absolutely shut. And I really did not want to go back to the corporates because my ideology was out in the open. I was on camera, I was on a channel talking about my ideology very, very freely and unapologetically. So then I was like, yeah, corporate mein to nahi jana, because again, you must have definitely heard that, especially the marketing sector, देखा ही होगा, हाल ही में ad भी देखा होगा मान्यवर का. Correct. I had recently written an article also on it. So that is the kind of mentality, you sit in air-conditioned offices, you come in like shorts, you get like 2 beers, and that is how advertisements are actually conceptualized. Now, I'm not saying that there's no hard work behind it. Of course, they put in a lot of hard work to put content together and, put it to take it to the screen. But very little is done about, very little research is done about what is it that they are projecting on screen. Something is cool, something is woke, something is in talk. Okay, let's just do something. And let me tell you, most of it is done only for awards. Having been from that industry, every campaign idea. I have been a part of a lot of campaigns. I've worked for clients at Tata's, Lodha's, etc. And the first thing, the moment we get a brief, the idea is कि campaign बनाना है, ऐसा बनाना है which will get us an award. So अगर आप regular campaigns बनाओगे, which is typically just about your product, उसमें आपको awards तो मिलने नहीं वाले. Awards कैसे मिलेंगे? When you know go a step ahead, when you bring in some emotional aspect, when you bring in some social aspect, and that is how you get an award. So that is typically how advertisements are created. But anyway, coming back to the point which I completely forgot which point I had started with in this journey of mine. Anyway, just cutting this entire description short, what I went to say was that I did not feel comfortable in going back to the corporate setup. And then I was very fortunate to come across, to get an opportunity from Op India, which I instantly grabbed because that was completely in alignment with my ideology. And I realized that there was a lot more that I could do working with a company which was so much aligned to my ideology. So I was really fortunate, and that's how my journey in this entire space actually began. Another disclaimer, so my presentation that I'm going to put up, it's not theoretical, it's not historical. I am also learning, just like everyone over here. I am also pretty new to my to this journey of especially learning a lot of history, a lot of theory, but my presentation is based on a lot of observational facts, a lot of contemporary facts, something that we can see happening right now, which is linked to these ideologies. But we will understand that how these historical ideologies don't really have any relevance or any place in the contemporary society, but they are being dragged down or forced upon us. Why? Because power struggle. Right. So Ria, can I share my screen and start with the presentation?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Okay, great. If I get boring at any point in time, please feel free to tell me. If you all have any questions, anything, please. It's going to be very, very conversational and very colloquial. So don't worry. Bore हो रहा है तो भी बोल देना मैम बोर हो रहा है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. मैम तो मत बोलना, but बोल देना. Okay, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. So cultural Marxism is something that we're going to talk about today. The topic was pretty much introduced very nicely, and more or less that is something that I wanted to communicate. So let's start by understanding that what really Marxism is. Just 2-3 lines. I mean, there are thousands of pages written on it and hundreds of books written on it. There is no way that we'll be able to understand the ideology correctly in its true form. But let's just get an essence of what really Marxism is. So Marxism is a social, political, and economic philosophy named after Karl Marx. It examines the effect of capitalism on labor, productivity, and economic development, and argues for a worker revolution to overturn capitalism in favor of communism. Essentially, it is a social class struggle. But one thing that we really need to keep in mind is this, thought that was put out by Karl Marx. Marx clearly believed that religion dulled people to their oppression by giving them hope beyond it. Okay, now we'll just try and understand a little bit as to what is it that he's trying to say. And that is all. That is where I'm going to leave the description of Marxism. Like I said, we're not going to get into the details of this theory, of this ideology. Will not be possible to do that. I am also not equipped, to do that. But let's try and understand. So what was Marx actually trying to do? He was against two things. He was against the princely class. He was against the rulers. And secondly, slowly, he started to go against the religion. Now, there is this huge, logic behind it. ऐसे नहीं था कि मतलब suddenly one fine day he got this idea कि मुझे सब dismantle करना है. No. For this, we will have to just little bit understand the Western and the Christian society, right? Western society, हम medieval society के अगर medieval Western world की बात करें, the medieval periods, it was barbaric, not the kind of world that we would want to see or want to live in, because it was my way or hell way. दो चीजें हैं, या तो आप हमारी बात मानो और you will go to hell, and if you don't go to hell, we will make sure how to take you to the hell, right? So later someday probably I would request you all to even read about inquisitions and genocides. That will give you a lot more understanding of what I'm trying to say. But essentially jo construct tha society ka, western society ka, there were these princely states, the ruler class, who used to enslave or oppress the working class. Okay, so this is what Marx came up against, ki bhaiya ye to nahi chalega, this is incorrect, why should one dominate the other, what is the basis? What was the basis? The basis was the religion. The basis was the holy book that they were actually following, or they continue to follow. And what does their holy book say? The concept of slavery, the concept of racism, the concept of inequality, the concept of women being beneath a man is all in their holy book. Correct? So हमें कहा जाता है, हम बचपन से सुनते हैं, हर धर्म एक है, सर्वधर्म संभावना. सर्वधर्म संभावना हमारे लिए फिर भी है, लेकिन जो हमें बोला जाता है कि essentially everything is the same, like all religions ultimately tell the same thing, and we all lead towards the same God and things like that. The more you start reading about them, you will realize that the teachings of Abrahamic religions are very much different from our Sanatan teachings, correct? So this is essentially what Marx was against. Again, if you remember, or if you must have come across this, there was a time where the church was against the princely states or the rulers. And then there was this huge power struggle between them, because church wanted entire power. Of course, princely states wanted that power to be with them. Somewhere they converged, and Marx realized कि both of them have gone against us. Correct? जो हमारे रूलर्स हैं, जो मतलब जिनको हम आज के नेशनलिस्ट बोल सकते हैं, that is how they kind of club them. ये भी हमारे अगेंस्ट है, ये भी हमें अप्रेस करते हैं, और इनका जो बैड बिहेवियर है वो किताब पे ब्लेम कर देते हैं कि अरे this is तो what our teachings also say. If you belong to such and such class or such and such color or such and such gender, you are anyway beneath us. You are anyway destined to go to hell. So instead, why don't you do what I say so you can achieve salvation and save yourself from going to hell where you will be burned like a pakoda? Correct? So that is what, this ideology actually came up against. Now, if you see in theory, इतना जब सुनते हैं हमें समझ में आता है कि यार कुछ गलत तो है, सच था नहीं. करेक्ट? वो लोग क्या कोशिश कर रहे थे कि जिनको ऑप्रेस किया जा रहा था वो उनको आजादी दिलाने की कोशिश कर रहे थे. ठीक है, शायद उनके मतलब probably their thought was fine, but you need to understand that the way they went around executed it. Correct? आज तक जहां पे भी हम मार्क्सिज्म कम्युनिज्म देखते हैं, especially जब कम्युनिज्म देखते हैं, very close home, we see it happening in Kerala, right? We see what is happening. I don't know if you all had come across, but ये हाल ही में news आई थी. Are you aware of the concept of gawking charges in Kerala? What the union laborers actually do, or the labor union, sorry, actually do. So ISRO का truck था, they were taking equipments, उन्हें सेंटर तक पहुंचना था. सेंटर तक जाने के लिए उनको बीच में रोक दिया गया, बोला 10 लाख रुपए दोगे तो हम जाने देंगे. Those are gawking charges. ISRO की बात होगी. If I am a resident of Kerala, I am a little, I'm little well-to-do. I, purchase a new bungalow in a nearby town. I want to go, I want to shift, I want to transport my luggage. I still have to give these gawking charges to the labor unions so that they just allow me. All they will do is stand and just watch me transport my luggage. But for me to be able to do that, I have to give them charges. So technically उनका क्या कहना था कि भैया आप रिच हो, आपके रिचेस हैं, शेयर करो, इक्वालिटी आएगी. वो कहीं ना कहीं ये कॉन्सेप्ट आज हम भूल चुके हैं कि जब उन्होंने ये डिमांड किया था, they were demanding from the princely state, जहां पे ये wealth है वो inherit होता था from generation to generation. You cannot be applying this concept to somebody who's worked hard, climbed up the ladder, और आप यहाँ पे बैठे हैं और यहाँ पे बस because you have declared yourself like a communist and from a labor class, now you demand कि नहीं अब तो जो भी है you need to share your riches, तभी equality आएगी वरना नहीं आएगी. नहीं मानोगे हम आपको we will not able to let you cross. काफी केसेस में either vehicles damage कर देंगे, goods damage कर देंगे या इंसान को भी damage कर देंगे. So इसको तो आप मतलब ये कौन सा तरीका है equality पाने का, we don't really know. But the point of me telling all this to you is now you understand that Marxism as an ideology exists, like came into being centuries ago, और हम अभी भी उसे real life में contemporary world में execute करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. So the reason I don't want to get into a lot of theory and I'm relating it to contemporary examples is because of this, because these concepts have been modified and they have been manipulated over the centuries to kind of suit the purpose of anybody who feels that they can make use of a certain ideology. This is not I'm not just talking about communism. There are, you talk about other ideologies, and there are enough people sitting there to make use of those ideologies as well to suit their purposes. Correct? Socialism ho gaya, communism ho gaya, everybody. Congress claims to be, I don't want it to be very political, but okay, so avoiding any sort of names, I'll just tell that, there is a party which talks about socialism, correct? Which has ruled the country for years. On socialism, गरीबी हटाने की कोशिश करते रहे. Every elections there was the same नारा, गरीबी हटाएंगे, गरीबी कभी हटी नहीं, क्योंकि गरीबी हट गई तो अगली बार उन्हें वोट कौन देगा? That was the premises. So the same thing happens with communism also. Now, dhire we'll try and understand that how it is into culture and why India is a soft target for this. Little bit about cultural Marxism. So firstly, you try and Google cultural Marxism. The first thing that you will read it is a far right conspiracy theory. A theory which does not exist. खत्म, वहीं पे मामला खत्म. बोल दिया, वहां पे डिक्लेयर कर दिया कि ये ऐसी theory exist ही नहीं करती है. Now I'll tell you the most beautiful irony of this. So let's understand that how did it begin. It is said to be coined by Antonio Gramsci, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, when imprisoned by the fascists in 1920s. Gramsci argued that the left needed to capture the bureaucracy, universities, media and cultural institutions if it wished to hold power. He said it in 1920s and we're seeing it happening around us now, correct? The left has hijacked the bureaucracy, the universities, the media, the cultural aspects of every society, correct? Or once they came into power, once they hijacked these universities, once they hijacked the intellectuals and the academicians, very conveniently now these academicians, these very universities come and tell that this theory does not exist only. They made use of it. They implied it, correct? They brought it into essence. And now they claim that this is something that we didn't do at all. I mean, this doesn't exist only. And this is something that, this is a far right conspiracy theory. Now it has come up by somebody who was a leftist or a communist himself, and they declare that no, this is all, really fancy. हमारा इससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है. So they say that cultural Marxism is a uniting theory for right-wingers who love to play the victim. This is how it is presented by the left ecosystem of far-right imaginary conspiracy. Now again, let's understand. You must have heard about these terms left and right 1,000 times in a day, correct? Again, we need to be very careful about the fact that left and right wings do not exist the way it should anywhere in the world. अगर आप वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड में देखोगे, राइट विंग किन्हें कहा जाता है? जो कंजर्वेटिव्स हैं, जो क्रिश्चियनिटी को बहुत फॉलो करते हैं, जो बाइबल के वर्ड्स सीरियसली लेते हैं. अब जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि बाइबल में ही there is a lot of discrimination prescribed in the Bible itself, correct? So, which is why right is equal to conservatives, somebody who supports inequality. That is how it is followed in the West world, correct? Anybody who chooses a free society, a liberal society, is termed as left, correct? We come to India and we don't know इस concept का, तो हम मतलब पूरी मतलब हम इसका सत्यानाश कर चुके हैं हम इस concept की. But this is what they try to do even in India. तो अगर आपने देखा होगा, नोटिस ही किया होगा, राइट विंग हो, हम सबके नजरों में नीचे गिर जाते हैं. क्यों? अरे अरे ये तो एकदम अपने रिलीजन को फॉलो करता होगा, ये तो नेशन लवर होगा. One thing that they fail to realize is that you cannot impose that on this society at all, because inequality, discrimination, race की तो बात ही नहीं आती, gender की बात ही नहीं आती, gender discrimination, none of it has been prescribed in Sanatan. None of it has been prescribed in our scriptures. So वो आके हमें अब तक, they are still struggling to call them as liberals and, label us as रूढ़िवादी, as repressive and oppressive. But they are time and again failing at it. Why? Because that is not the structure of our religion at all. Had that been the structure of our religion, it would have been very easy for them to hijack us. It's a long battle that they have been fighting. It is a really long battle that they have been fighting. They should have won it by now very, very easily. They're not able to win it for a very simple reason that these ideas, these constructs, तो अगर वो हमें बार बार बोलते भी हैं, आपने नोटिस किया होगा, जैसे ही दुर्गा पूजा आएगा, जैसे ही नवरात्रि आएगी, किस तरीके के ये ग्राफिक्स और एडवर्टीजमेंट्स निकालने लगेंगे. सीता माँ के बारे में बात करेंगे कि जहां जिस धरती पे सीता सेफ नहीं है, वहां आप राम मंदिर बना रहे हैं. करेक्ट? When you talk about atrocities against women, it is a societal problem. Correct? But they try and make it a religious problem, that there is a problem in your religion. Had there been a problem with our religion, तो हमारे में दुर्गा और सीता का कॉन्सेप्ट ही एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता, शक्ति का ही कॉन्सेप्ट एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता. हमारे यहाँ तो पूरा शाक्ता संप्रदाय है जो सिर्फ और सिर्फ शक्ति में मानता है. If you would have been like how they discriminate otherwise, अगर वो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हमारे यहाँ होता तो हमारे यहाँ तो ये संप्रदाय ही एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता. So that is where they completely fall flat on their face and they still seem to struggle. Just moving ahead, so जैसे introduction में भी बताया था, what is cultural Marxism? It is nothing more than application of Marxist theory on culture, correct? So just a little bit of story behind it. So Gramsci, a popular communist leader, was imprisoned for posing a threat to national security. While in prison, he wondered why none of Marx's theory or predictions worked. He then thought that the culture of Western society was blocking the proletarian uprising. Do you get the point? So, पहली बात तो ये बेचारा खुद कम्युनिस्ट लीडर था, फासिस्ट गवर्नमेंट ने उसको अंदर डाल दिया, ये बोल के कि ये नेशनल सिक्योरिटी के लिए थ्रेट है. ये फिर बैठ के being a communist, he then started to kind of think कि यार ऐसा तो क्या हो रहा है, that it's just not working at all. Everything that Karl Marx said, technically it should have made sense, but there is no evidence. We're not able to make any kind of difference on ground. So then what do we do? Then he realized that the reason that they are failing is because of the culture of Western society. Correct? Like I said, कि उनके culture में ही ये deep rooted था. Slavery is there prescribed. Discrimination is there prescribed. Gender bias is prescribed, and that is how he realized. So consequently, he wrote in his books, the prison notebooks, of course, because that is where he wrote his book. Until Christianity's cultural hegemony was broken, no communist revolution would take place and no utopia could arrive. In short, until and unless Western culture is de-Christianized, Western society will never be decapitalized. So now you understand that what was this entire, communist versus state versus church struggle, right? So they said कि जब जो भी Christianity in entirety follow करता है, जो a religion which prescribes and subscribes to the ideas of inequality or slavery, तो जब तक हम इसको dismantle नहीं करेंगे, हम society में equality नहीं ला पाएंगे, which makes sense. But does that make sense to the Indian society? Absolutely not. But unfortunately, that is something that they have been trying to do over here. यहाँ पे इन्होंने क्या किया है, वहां पे उनका काम खत्म हो गया. Whatever they had to do over there, they did. Whatever they had to do in the medieval times, whatever the numerous murders that have happened, even more than a war has happened already. Okay, I just want to know if the background noise over here is disturbing.
Yes, Akshita, it is.
It is okay. Just allow me a minute, Bhanumati ji.
Yeah,
Just allow me
sure.
a minute.
Sure, sure.
All right, please allow me just 2 minutes. There's some construction work going on, so allow me just 2 minutes. I'll just. All right, is it better?
Yes, sure. Continue, please.
Okay. Okay, so where was I? Okay. So the point being that वहां पे तो उन्होंने वेस्टर्न सोसाइटी में अपना काम कर लिया. अब क्या करना है? न्यू टारगेट. They came here. They came to India. इंडिया में क्या करना है? इंडिया में क्या कर सकते हैं? डिवाइड तो उतना था ही नहीं कभी. करेक्ट. जैसे गीतांजलि जी ने भी बात की, कास्ट डिवाइड था ही नहीं कभी. वर्ण सिस्टम था जो ऑक्यूपेशन पे बेस्ड था. उसमें भी अगर आप देखें जो हमारी 64 कलाएं थी, या व्हेन यू गो बैक टू चतुर्दश विद्या स्थानम, करेक्ट, द काइंड ऑफ स्किल्स that were taught, from painting to dancing to singing to study of gems, study astrology, astronomy, तो कभी भी हमारे इसमें one occupation is beneath the other. The system really did not exist, or one varna is beneath the other. This concept really did not exist. और अर्धनारेश्वरी का concept है हमारे पास, तो हम gender divide की तो बात भी नहीं कर सकते यहाँ पे. So then they were made to wonder कि यार अब क्या करें यहाँ पे, तो that divide only does not exist. When the divide does not exist, what is it that we can do? So that is how they started to create the divide. And unfortunately, they have been a little successful in doing that, and they continue to do so. So they started with the entire caste divide, जो और ही उसके बाद में बढ़ता गया. हमारे पास filters after filters after filters आते गए, groups आते गए. But that is how it made their work so much more easier. So essentially उनको करना क्या है? Fault line ढूंढनी है. Now I will not even call it as a fault line. It is just how our society was, right? It wasn't even a fault line, but ठीक है, उनको लगा कि इस basis पे दो गुट को divide कर सकते हैं. They identified that, they broadened that divide. फिर क्या किया? मसीहा बन के आए, बोले अरे आप ये तो डिविजन है. एक ग्रुप को बोला अरे आपके साथ तो गलत हो रहा है, आप तो अप्रेस हो रहे हो, हम आपको इस ऑपरेशन से बचाएंगे. करेक्ट. उन्होंने उनको मतलब you claim you become their मसीहा, you have the loyalty of one entire group, and you completely uproot them from their identity. You kind of make them forget their identity. Correct? Aryan invasion or Dravidian divide और ये सब क्या था? This is how exactly it started. कि आप उनको पूरा dismantle कर दो अपने roots से, and that is how they kept going. Even now they keep creating smaller groups, divides, victim groups, so that they can kind of capture them and uproot them completely. So this is essentially what is known as cultural Marxism. अभी कोई कितना भी deny कर ले, शायद theory में नहीं होगा, but it very much exists and it continues to exist. Probably not documented or something like that, but it is pretty much there, and we see it happening all around us. And we take certain examples. Okay, just a Yes, sincere apologies for this. Okay, so we'll try and understand this concept from the story of Akansha and Aparajita. So this is just very fictional. I'm sorry if anybody over here is named Akansha or Aparajita. Please, this has got nothing to do with actual events or actual people. Like they always, put out a disclaimer before a movie or an ad. Okay, so this is the story of Akansha. So Akansha wakes up almost hopeless every morning. After spending a good amount of time on a phone, she struggles to get ready for work because she's just not motivated enough. Probably some makeup, good clothes to kind of, hide her underconfidence, but she still feels absolutely dejected and demotivated. She instantly logs in to the internet for some kind of instant gratification. We see it happening on social media, right? We put out this really nice picture and then we constantly worry about hame kitne likes hai, hame kitne comments mile. Correct? That is something that all of us have done. Unfortunately, the victim stories on the web make her feel worse because there are so many out there, correct? Everybody is trying to glamorize their pains, which is where the actual problem lies. The glamorization of somebody's struggles or somebody's pains. So that is how it, that is where the problem is. So what do you do? There is this entire world. What is the outcome? Hate and disrespect for everyone around, as they all seem to be against her, because the more she reads about this victimization, the more it kind of dawns upon her that everybody is against her. Mere saath bhi aise hi hoga. That is how the concepts of all men are bad even came about, because unfortunately, instead of fixing the problem at the root level, we kind of superimposed it, and anybody facing slightest of issue, rather than fighting it out, rather than facing it, started to feel like a victim and hating the other side, right? So we wish to fight against the big bad world who is constantly oppressing. That is the kind of feeling that is put into our head, that especially I'm going to take that example of men, because this has become very prevalent in today's time. They've been made the scapegoats, right? So join social justice groups who then recommend certain behaviors, right? So next kya karna hai? You need to start finding groups where you get this sense of belonging, where everybody is bashing, slamming the same group of people that you also hate, that you also dislike, correct? You consume more and more content and products made exactly for victims like her, right? So what do you, I mean, you kind of end up becoming a consumer for them. So you were just not feeling very hopeful, or you probably had a bad incident. You started to connect with certain group of people, people who have probably faced similar issues, or who are made to feel that they are victims, who do not have the power to stand up against something, and they are the ones who will be oppressed forever. Then you start grouping them, bringing them together, and ultimately turn them into consumers, give them all that they want, correct? Struggle, of course, there are a lot of repercussions in your lifestyle, in your food habits, in your sleep patterns, etc. You wake up the next day feeling that, oh, you did something great, you passed just another day, and that is it. You look for other material gratification, other ways to kind of pacify yourself. Maybe at work, you might not be very gentle with your co-workers. You might put them down. You might feel that it is your right to climb up the ladder, become the manager, earn enough, then buy fancy stuff for you, and you feel that that is victory. That, my friends, unfortunately, is not victory, because you are not solving the purpose over here. You are not fighting. You're not at all putting up a fight. What you are doing is you are escaping from a fight, correct? So, are we trying to like somebody or somebody's struggle? Not really. Just a second. I think somebody is. Okay. All right. So are we trying to belittle somebody's struggles? Are we trying to tell that, social injustices don't exist? Not at all. They definitely exist, but we need to fight them out. Are we trying to say that people are not body shamed or discriminated against? No. We see that happening, and this has nothing to do with either the culture or a religion or region. Nothing. It has just got to do with more to do with society. Correct. So are we trying to say that these things don't happen? They definitely happen. Or that people don't experience any kind of abuse or or have like a troubled family background? They do. Of course they do. But is playing the victim the solution? Is this how we will ensure that no one else suffers the same way, or hating them in general will get us peace? Again, you must have noticed this. Everyone who now claims to be the Masiha of some oppressed victim groups, it could be religion based or caste based, are actually the ones who oppress them, because for them they are nothing but these foot soldiers like this facade which help them run their businesses. Correct? Jahan pe ye victimization collapse ho jayega, when they can themselves start putting up a fight, inka business kaise chalega? Correct. So, on the other hand, there is a story of Aprajita. So, currently living in a metro city, hails from the quiet town of Dehradun. She teaches Sanskrit as a profession and also trains people in yoga for free. Aprajita is a happy and contented soul with bare minimum needs or desires. Self-care, healing oneself and others is her priority. Akansha does not like Aprajita or the likes of her, as she feels that they rub her privilege in their faces. So Aprajita is really this peace-loving, contented person who's very happy with whatever she has or whatever she does. She rarely creeps. She rarely creeps means वो automatically हमारे में एक assumption आ जाता है कि ये complain नहीं कर रहा है, मतलब that person is not facing any problem. So अपने आप को एक माइंड में फीलिंग आ जाती है कि अरे यार ये तो कोई प्रॉब्लम्स भी फेस नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो हाउ विल दे रियलाइज आवर स्ट्रगल, करेक्ट, और व्हाट ऑप्रेशन आर वी फीलिंग? But this is the real story of Aprajita. So unfortunately, Aprajita had a troubled childhood. She had an abusive elder sibling who was favored more by her parents. She was severely underconfident and neglected, not just by the family, but even at her school, because she never really, was confident enough of approaching other people by the way she was treated at home. She perpetually suffered from minor ailments, never feeling fully fine. But she realized that this is not how she could lead her life. She realized the only one who can help her is herself, correct? She also had a choice, very much like Akansha, to kind of play the victim, to look for validation from others or some kind of materialistic happiness. But I think all of us over here will agree that all of this is very, very short term. It is not a long-term solution at all. So instead, what Aprajita did, she decided to move to cities, break away from the environment she was currently in, and do something on her own. She was always fascinated by ancient temples, and so she first decided to spend a week at the temple town in Uttarakhand. She got chatty with sadhus and pandits, trying to understand the history and the significance of temples and the place. She also participated in artis, bhajans, and other rituals of the temple that really helped her calm a lot. And she struggled to recite mantras. However, this time she made her struggle her strength. So what she did, she enrolled herself in a college to become a Sanskrit graduate, and in the same college served as a math teacher, a subject that she was really good at. She began to see the change within her. Aprajita was now healing, she was self-reliant, and she was confident. Following a Vedic lifestyle, she unlocked her inner strength, and she could not, she could then heal everybody around her and not just herself. So now, do you really think that Aprajita is privileged? Do you think that, she's somebody who got privileges just like that? Not really. So, Akansha, who has a good paying job security, access to all the latest technologies, brands, products that she really wants, who's always led a city life, who's a shopaholic, she wines, she dines. But at the end of the day, she claims that she's a victim. And here is Aprajita, who grew up in a humble, troubled family with limited access to modern technologies, a very average student living with bare minimum material. But she's managed to do something with her life. So that is exactly what you see happening in universities and colleges with the young, boys and girls today. The moment they realize that you're falling weak somewhere for whatever reason, it could be a personal reason, it could be a social injustice, there are plenty reasons, but all of us face struggles in life. There is absolutely nobody born on this earth who is free from struggles or pains. That is not how you are even supposed to live a life, because your life technically is an amalgamation of all the emotions, all the feelings, all the phases, that you're supposed to go through. The highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the struggle, the success, the failures, right? That is how a life is, whether you want it or not. But then, what are you to do with those struggles that have been put in front of you, the obstacles that have been put in front of you, is completely your choice. Either you brave it, you fight it up, and you kind of cross it, or you make yourself a victim, and that's it. You are forever then at somebody else's mercy. Correct. So this is the kind of group that your current cultural Marxists are constantly trying to find. Groups who have, unfortunately, or young women or young girls, unfortunately, who have seen, a gender discrimination. They then, captivate such groups. And what do they do that next? They make it a societal problem, and more than a societal problem, they make it a religious problem. That is how the entire discussions or discourse around Krishna having multiple wives, or Ram, forcing Sita to take Agni Pariksha even came about. What did they try? What they started to do? आपकी जो struggles है, probably जिससे आप बहुत आसानी से भी डील कर सकते थे, but आपको उस समय समझ नहीं आया कि आपको उसके साथ करना क्या है. You came in, आप उनके इसमें आ गए, कब्जे में आ गए. नेक्स्ट उन्होंने क्या किया? धीरे धीरे, अरे आपकी तो सोसाइटी ही ऐसी है, अरे आपके तो धर्म में ही ये सिखाया जाता है, अरे आपके तो इतिहास में ही ये लिखा है, अरे आपके तो भगवान ने ही खुद इतना डिस्क्रिमिनेशन किया, ये गलत किया, तो आपके साथ तो ये होना ही है. So this is how they imprison our minds. So I am so sure that the moment they see this bindi, or some of us are very beautiful saris, we'll immediately be bucketed. Ye log to regressive hai. They are the oppressive kinds who promote this kind of Brahmanical patriarchy. And I'm sorry, but I don't even get to pronounce. I don't know how to pronounce those words, let alone even understanding the meaning of these words. But you see, अगर आपने देखा होगा, अगर आपने न्यूज़ पढ़ी होगी, अब पंजाब के जो नए सीएम हैं, Sikh, Dalit, probably a Christian. So you just see in how many ways he has been bucketed. दलित्स को ऑलरेडी ये बोल चुके हैं कि एक oppressed community है. Now this is something very fascinating. Somebody, I was at another panel where somebody said Dalit का मतलब actually क्या होता है? It comes from a word which actually means the one who is oppressed. So she pointed out, if that person is so oppressed, or his family was so oppressed, how is he at the post of a CM of a state in a democratic country? Correct? But आपने उनको एक victim group में डाल दिया. Second, वो एक religion से belong करते हैं जो minority है, तो आपने उन पे वो भी label डाल दिया. फिर आपने उनको एक और religion दे दिया. Because वो भी एक minority में आता है, और आप मतलब वो narrative popular है कि Hindus जो है सारे minorities को oppress करते हैं. तो you just see कि कितने victim groups बना के एक ही इंसान को डाल दिया गया है. Correct? So that is exactly what they tried to do. Once आप उनके इसमें आ गए, आप उनकी बातों में आ गए, या आप उनके ग्रुप में कनेक्ट हो गए, ये they will try their level best to victimize you as much as possible, and the best way that they can do is by uprooting. अब आप मुझे एक बात बताइए, जिसने सही में गीता पढ़ी है, या महाभारत पढ़ी है, या कृष्णा की कहानी पढ़ी है, उसको अगर ये सामने आके बोलते हैं, अरे कृष्णा की तो इतनी बीवियां थी, अरे कृष्णा तो रासलीला करते थे, क्या वो ये बात मानेगा? नहीं मानेगा. Somebody who's facing struggles, but also has Gita by his side, and somebody comes and tells that, oh, what is it that you're following? And this is not what your religion actually preaches. It is all about oppression. that moment you will just laugh off at that person's face and then never look back at him. So you are not a potential target or a potential customer for them. Correct? Which is why they try and find people who are not rooted to their history, to their civilization, to their identity, to their culture, to their religion. Because then वो आके कुछ भी बोल दें आपको. अब कन्यादान का concept, and I am not going to deny, कन्यादान का जो concept है, I never had any opinion about it, but I never had उसका significance के बारे में मुझे कभी नहीं पता था. बहुत सारी चीजें होती है, प्रथा है तो हम करते हैं, हम कभी उसके बारे में जानने की कोशिश नहीं करते. We might not see it in a particular way, whether it's progressive, regressive, oppressive, we don't do that. बट हम उसे जानने की भी कोशिश नहीं करते. अब इन्होंने कन्यादान वाला जो कॉन्सेप्ट, एनीवे करवा चौथ, कन्यादान, ये सारे जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स है जिसको ये बोलते हैं कि पेट्रियार्की है या व्हाटएवर, सो विदाउट डूइंग एनी काइंड ऑफ रिसर्च इस पे पूरी की पूरी एड फिल्म बना दी. ठीक है. It is only when even I had to counter that narrative did I come to know of the actual significance of the ritual. अब ऐसा कोई व्यक्ति हो जिसको ऑलरेडी उसके बारे में पता है, करेक्ट, वो ऐसी एड फिल्म बनाने की भी नहीं सोचते. क्यों सोचा? Because more than half of us don't even know the significance about it. We don't know the idea behind it. Very easy to come and tell that, oh my God, this is what your religion does. This is how it oppresses you. This is how it, kind of puts you down. So, which is why अभी जो उनका का पूरा स्ट्रगल है, आप जय श्री राम बोल दो, it has become politicized. आप बिंदी लगा लो, आप saffron पहन लो. You just have to wear saffron. Saffron has been politicized. Correct? It has been turned into an ideology. So that is how they kind of uproot you completely, especially when you are already not very familiar of your past, of your history, of your religion, of your culture, of your identity. You become easier targets, which is why they try and ये जो universities भी हैं ये उस हिसाब से ही select करते हैं. They very well know at what age to target, which universities to target, which areas to target, and क्या बोल के हमें उन्हें target करना है. करेक्ट. सो एसेंशियली ये जो मैंने इतनी सारी बातें अभी आपको बोली, इतने सारे जो मैंने ऑब्जर्वेशंस आपको दिए, आई डोंट नो वेदर इट वाज एनीथिंग न्यू और इंटरेस्टिंग और नॉट, but the left Marxist communist trio, which is technically supposed, जैसे मैंने अभी आपको बताया था कि उनको डीक्रिश्चियनाइज करना था. लेफ्ट कम्युनिस्ट का मकसद क्या था? डीक्रिश्चियनाइज करना सोसाइटी. टेक्निकली दे नीड टू डीक्रिश्चियनाइज इवन इस्लाम, and there is still Christianization भी, उसको भी डीक्रिश्चियनाइज करने की जरूरत है, but now their favorite target has become Hindus. So I'm really sorry, allow me just a So not a very peaceful Saturday, it seems for me. So sorry. So yeah. So instead of supporting that, I mean, instead of going behind the real targets, जहाँ पे जो religion है, जो actually inequality promote करते हैं, वो छोड़ के वो आ गए हमारे पास. Why? Because my next article actually is going to come out on this. So I'll request you all to read that, which will tell you that why India and Hindus have become a common target of left, Marxist, communist, Islamist, missionary trio, or this entire group. So essentially what they try to do, they create new victim groups, pretend to be their voice and turn them to bots against democracy and Hinduism. In the West, they had to de-Christianize, to decapitalize, whereas in India, they now intend to de-Hindunize, to de-democratize. I know words like these don't exist, but fine. I mean, they also come up with like 1,000 jargons, which we don't understand or never existed in our society. But here we are, actually using them in our day-to-day languages. But this is just to give you an essence, right? कि ये अब क्या करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. So वहाँ पे जो वो कर पाए नहीं कर पाए, आधा पका काम छोड़ के अब वो यहाँ पे आ गए हैं. So why? But why am I even emphasizing on all these things? Why is it am I talking to you about all these things? For a very simple reason. We are seeing some of the states in our country as examples, biggest being Kerala. I'll not go anywhere else. I'll just talk to you about Kerala. Kerala is a communist state, and we can all see the condition of Kerala. आप बचा क्या है? वहां पे इंडस्ट्रीज निकल के जा रही हैं, वहां पे हैरेसमेंट इतना होता है, आईसिस का सबसे हाईएस्ट रिक्रूटमेंट केरला से होता है, स्मगलिंग, करप्शन सबसे ज्यादा केरला में होता है। तो आप मतलब that is where they give an example of why a communist state will never work. You have that example right in front of you. Something unfortunately very similar is happening in West Bengal, even though they claim to be however they want to pose themselves. But we're seeing what is happening. China is a communist country. How many of us over here actually believe that China is communist? I have not seen a country more capitalist than China. But here also you see, what have they done? They have taken some bits and pieces from communism that really helps them, and they have imposed it on, their public, their people. When China actually started to become a superpower, जब वो manufacturing hub for the entire globe बनने लगा, वहां पे जितने atrocities होती थी, अभी भी होती हैं. The kind of work hours they have, 14, 15, 16, no lunch break, or they are working like robots. अरे बाबा, आप कम्युनिस्ट हो. कम्युनिस्ट मीन्स वर्कर अपराइजिंग. आपको वर्कर्स को इक्वालिटी देनी थी, उनको आपको एक्ट पार लाना था, आपने उनको ही वापस एनस्लेव कर दिया, और आप कह रहे हो कि हम तो कम्युनिस्ट कंट्री है. So you understand that this is how they make use of these ideologies, which is why I did not go into a lot of theory, because it will not make sense at all. Because theory बेचारा कोई क्या बोल के गया, क्या लिख के गया, every one of them, whoever was involved in this power struggle, they took bits and pieces from these ideologies, history, or anything that really suited their purpose, and put it together and started enforcing it on people. So why is it still essential for us to understand? It is for a very simple reason that our religion also, just because अब वो पूरा ideological game हो गया है, political game हो गया है, our religion has unfortunately become a part of it, right? Whereas a religion is something so personal. My faith, my belief, my practices, my varna, my identity, even my name is something so personal. The way I carry myself, the way I dress is so personal. But unfortunately, everything has become politicized. And अगर हर चीज political हो गई, आपका religion, आपकी identity आपकी नहीं रहेगी, और हम ये देखना शुरू कर चुके हैं, right? जैसे ही आप saffron पहनोगे, you are a soft target, you are an easy target, you have been identified as a potential threat. जबकि probably that is just your way to that is just your favorite color that you would like to go wear and go to a temple. अभी तक तो भगवा पे बात आई है, या जय श्री राम तक बात आई है. धीरे धीरे you even going to temple will become a problem and will become political. I'm not getting into the debate of temples under government control and all, that is another topic. But all I'm trying to tell you, caste, which did not exist, it existed in a different form, that has become political. Anything that we say, आज हम गीता पढ़ाने की कोशिश करेंगे स्कूल्स में, कॉलेजेस में, हम नहीं पढ़ा पाएंगे. क्यों? पॉलिटिकल हो चुका है. नहीं पढ़ा रहे हैं हम गीता हमारे स्कूल और कॉलेजेस में, लोग पूरे डिस्कनेक्ट हो चुके हैं. There is an entire generations after generations who do not know the teachings of Gita, who have been kept away from it. Already a lot has been lost. We've already become potential victims. Potential, consumers for the leftist Marxist communist group. So, up the point being that still we have some bit of time left with us, and it is time कि जो भी little बचा है हमारे पास, हमारे religion के बारे में, हमारे identity के बारे में, इसे politicize होने नहीं देना है. Ensure करना है that nobody is able to make use of our इतिहास, of our identity. कोई आता है लेफ्टिस्ट आपको बात करने के लिए, challenges you कि अच्छा टेल मी कि कृष्णा की इतनी बीवियां क्यों थी. You should have an answer. You should tell that how he saved those women, and he saved the dignity of those women who were kidnapped by an asura. करेक्ट. कोई आपको राम या सीता के बारे में आके कुछ बोलने की कोशिश करता है, या दुर्गा के बारे में बोलने की कोशिश कर रहा है, you should have it on tip of your tongue. You should be ready with your responses and answers. For that you need to go back to your history, and you need to go back to your roots. But on the other hand, they're literally trying to pull you away from it. So understand the generation, especially the age group that we are in. We are being pulled from both ends. One that is trying to take you back to the roots, and one that is trying really hard to uproot you. But I think we can see the differences of both sides. Somebody who's rooted, हमारे पास उनके भी examples हैं, हमारे पास उनके भी examples हैं who are completely disconnected with their, identity, religion, and dharma. Correct? कौन से way में हमें जाना है? The choice is all ours. Pretty much out in the open. We don't really have to, अब तो ऐसा है कि we don't even have to struggle. Bhanumati ji is doing a fantastic job with Indic warriors. We don't really have to go around looking for help. The help is at our doors. All we need to do is just, enter that door and seek help. So that is where I am going to end this long and hopefully not so boring speech on cultural Marxism. I don't know how much of it you all could relate to or was something new, but just an attempt to kind of tell you that how these ideologies are used or misused in contemporary world, and what is it that we need to really be aware and distant from. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Akshita. Wonderfully put. And I'm so impressed with, the skills of, the presentation. It's lively and it's absorbing. What you said is a threat, because any country which has its younger generation moving away from its original culture of the land is a threat to nationalism. It's an internal security problem. And it's an international conspiracy. And we're not talking about conspiracy theories, we're not getting hyper about it, but this is something that is knocking on your doors. And it's being observed in the homes that children who are uprooted from their own indigenous cultures are very easily, converted to consumerism and capitalism. The basic ethos of this land is not about consumerism or capitalism. It is about spiritualism. It is about thinking that all of us are the same and our roots are different, but our goals are the same. But unfortunately, there are, belief systems which say no, my way or highway. And we believe in live and let live. So these two contradictory ideological narratives are at play in a very, very big way. And people see India not as a spiritual hub, but they see us as a market. And our youngsters are falling prey to that, trap which is laid for them through social media, through, stand-up comedy, and you name it. I mean, all the hip hops. So very nicely, you brought all these things together, and I think you rang the alarm bell. Those of my students who are aware of it will rise above and see what the threat it is to your nation and your identity and your survival as Bharat. If you don't see this, then there is something wrong with you. So any amount of education is not enough to keep a nation together. You have to have the sense of awareness that somewhere back there our roots are the same. And if the roots are strong, if your roots you identify, then you will nurture it. And that's what is going to bear fruit. Otherwise, I think a mere degree will only get you maybe some bread on your plate, but that will be very soon taken away. And you have seen in and around your country what has happened when they have lost the original culture of their land. I'm very passionate about this, and I feel that in every classroom, this needs to be told that all of you children belong to this great, great motherland. We must do something to nurture the indigenous cultures and arts and crafts of this land. Thank you so much, Akshita ji, from the bottom of my heart once again for taking time out from, I know how busy you are and you've got back-to-back, webinars lined up yourself. Thank you so much. I'm hugely indebted. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Over to you, Ria.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Akshita, ma'am, you're truly a sea of knowledge. Now, there has not been...
We're all just learning.
Now, there has not been a speech in the history of time that has not startled inquisitive minds. Let us now move on to the question and answer session. I request Ruma and Rani to take over.
Thank you, ma'am. That was indeed an insightful session, ma'am. And now we'll be asking you a thread of question. My first question to you: when we talk about the dichotomy between the oppressed and the oppressor, how far does the theological narrative of Kashmiri Pandit being excommunicated from their own lands holds true? Over to you, ma'am.
I could not get the middle word. Could you just repeat it for me?
Yes, ma'am. The dichotomy between the oppressed and the oppressor, how far does the theological narrative of Kashmiri Pandits being excommunicated from their own lands holds true?
I mean, I don't really know that because again, यहाँ पे जो है, like I said, there has been sections which have termed themselves as eternal victims, correct? इनके अलावा कोई victim हो ही नहीं सकता, इनके अलावा कोई oppressed हो ही नहीं सकता, इनके अलावा कोई और कुछ face ही नहीं कर सकता. So even if they are the ones, even if they are the attackers, they are the aggressors, they are the ones who actually are a threat to the society, but they have, उन्होंने अपने आप को एक eternal victim group बना दिया है, which is why I have a very strong problem against victimization. Correct? When you victimize yourself, this is what happens. Correct? आप दूसरों के जो दुख दर्द है, या आप शायद मतलब even if you talk about gender equality also, you must have seen this, right? अब हम क्या करना चाहते हैं? Women want to rise above men. Why do we want to rise above anyone? Why can't we, we're all supposed to do our own work. We are so much better than them at so many things, and they are better than us in so many things. I mean, that is how we have been, being brought into, right? That is how we have been manufactured or wired. So why is it that we want to be? So that is my problem with victimization, correct? But I think that it is time to snatch away these narratives. Like I say, there are a few labels जो उन्होंने अपने आप को बहुत खुशी से दे रखे हैं. लिबरल का दूर दूर तक लिबरल नहीं है ये. अगर ये लिबरल होते तो ये जो कम्युनिटीज में सच्ची में जहां ऑपरेशन होता है, जहां पे विमेन सफर करती हैं, जहां पे उन्हें कोई हक नहीं दिया जाता, ये वहां पे काम करते नहीं. लेकिन ये अपने आप को लिबरल फिर भी कहते हैं. ये कहते हैं कि ये विक्टिम्स थे. अगर आप अगेन इफ आई गेट इनटू द हिस्ट्री ऑफ कश्मीरी पंडित एक्सोडस, इट्स अ लॉन्ग हिस्ट्री एंड इट स्टार्टेड वे बिफोर इंडिपेंडेंस. हुआ होगा ये 90s में, but this was not something that suddenly happened in the 90s. It was something that had been was being planned since very long. But तब तक उनके पास क्या एडवांटेज था? उन्होंने क्या किया? टिल द टाइम वो एग्जीक्यूशन का टाइम आया, उन्होंने क्या किया? अपने आप को विक्टिम डिक्लेयर कर दिया कि भाई हम तो कल को किसी को अपने घर से बेघर भी कर दे, लेकिन हम तो विक्टिम है ना, तो आप हम पे कैसे ब्लेम डाल सकते हो? So that is exactly what has happened with Kashmiri Hindus and a lot of other Hindus, unfortunately. So see, इसको टैकल करने के दो तरीके हैं. आपको तो फाइट ही करना है बैटल. You need to come up as a warrior, but by playing a victim. What they do to us, now we do to them, right? That is how, I mean, आपने देखा होगा कि जब से डिसमेंटलिंग ग्लोबल हिंदुत्व का आया है, हम सब एक सॉर्ट ऑफ विक्टिमाइजेशन मोड में चले गए कि देखो हमारे हमारे बारे में क्या बोल रहे हैं. See what is it that they are telling? They are actually giving a call. It's a threat. It's a call to attack us. We've gone in that victim mode. But what are we doing? We are putting up a fight. Correct? हम भी अपने तरफ से conferences hold कर रहे हैं. We are talking, we are forming groups, we are voicing ourselves to tell that we are victims. So that is essentially इसके लिए जब आप कश्मीर की भी बात करते हैं, of course we all know it is pretty clear कि oppressor कौन था, oppressed कौन थे. But I am very very glad कि अब the tables are slowly turning. जो actual victims थे, they are able to tell, come out in the open and tell that no, sorry, we were the real victims out here and do something about us. I mean, we're going a little wrong. Yes, Gitanjali ji. You're on mute.
Okay, I'm right now sitting in Kashmir only.
जी,
And, I have seen people how they have been describing. There are officers who come here on posting and they had to flee away from here so many years back. And the way they flew, I mean, it gives you goosebumps, right? As to what
absolutely.
all happened here. And one of my friend, he was telling me how he had to, flee away from here. So I just gave him one point. I said, okay, you were still lucky that you did not have any lady in your house, right? There was no
Right.
girl child in your house. And he agreed to that fact. And I mean, it's been actually, when we say, then once they come back, although Modi ji has started his spree of doing whatever best for this people, but the people out here, they still have loyalty towards Pakistan only. I mean, we've been working hard and hard to convince them, okay, aap hamare hi part ho, India ke part ho, and all that. But if comes to them, abhi Gilani ji ki death hui hai, what did they do? उनको पाकिस्तानी फ्लैग उनको बांध के उन्होंने जो भी मतलब रैप करके उनको वो किया गया. So this is how the things are, and we are in a, as once Bhanuji told me, it's an alarming state for all of us, and somewhere we need to wake up. And एक चीज मुझे आपसे पूछनी है, when I mean I would never want to brand my God and my religion as such, but आज की डेट पे जो सब कुछ चल रहा है हमारे आसपास में, do you think somewhere we also need to play a very very tactful game when we say that okay, हम हिंदुत्व, आपने बताया कि अगर भगवा पहन लिया तो प्रॉब्लम है, बहन जी बोलने से लड़कियों को प्रॉब्लम है, because that's a not a in thing these days. हाँ, बहन जी बोल दिया मतलब बहुत ही outdated हो, आप बिल्कुल गंवार हो. At least that day I was just discussing with Ria also. So this should go away, and we need to work in a way, in a very smart way, to bring out these facts in our life, back to our life, that okay, Behenji is not a ungraded, I mean downgraded term, huh? And somewhere we need to brand ourselves in a very very stylish way, so that people, and especially the youngsters, right, जो युवा वर्ग है वो हमसे वो हो पाए, हमारे साथ उनको एक जुड़ाव हो पाए, and somewhere we can fight it out in a very tactful manner. We should never say that okay, आप लोग ये कर रहे हो, but हाँ, हम सब मिलके गए, मतलब something of that kind. We need to work out a very tactful game for us, wherein we
Correct.
can do something. That's all.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gitanjali ji. I think, Gitanjali ji, I think all we need to do is just own up. I know we just need to be proud. I mean, why are we not stylish? I see, the girls sitting here. I'm looking at Ruma's dress. It's stylish. I mean, I love
No,
it.
no, no.
So
No.
the point is that we need to start really, we need to be proud.
Taking
We need to
pride.
be,
Yes,
yeah,
taking
of
pride
course.
in whatever we are, whatever we are.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And
I
it is
have.
stylish.
Sorry, I have taught in officers training academy, wherein I had lady cadets who were my cadets. I was teaching them and all. So every time I would tell them, take pride in being a lady. You should never say that okay, they are doing this, I should also do that. I said, there's no comparison for a lady. I mean, you can reproduce, you can create a world, right? So there's no comparison to anyone. You are great in yourself. Everyone is in their own way. So there is something which we need to instill amongst our youngsters also, that okay, being a Hindu is not bad, or we are great. In any case, our civilization is so great. No one in this world can match our standards. So this is something which we need to bring out to the youngsters.
Absolutely, absolutely. And other point is, Gitanjali ji, कि किसी ने आके कह दिया कि बिंदी is not stylish, हम क्यों मान रहे? Is there any logic to it?
Very
Is there
true,
any
very
reasoning to it? There is no reasoning to it. Tomorrow I can go and tell somebody that, he's not stylish enough. Why should that person listen to me? Similarly, if somebody comes and tells me that, me wearing a jeans kurti and a bindi, it's like, ye kya kar liya? So jeans pe bindi kaun pehne? This is my choice. I am looking decent.
Exactly,
So it is my choice.
exactly.
So why should we even get into believing what others say? Because किसी ने बोल दिया कि साड़ी, अरे यार, you should be wearing dresses. I mean, we all have that choice. We are at least fortunate that we live in a community and a religion where we have that choice. There are
Seriously.
temples जहाँ पे carvings है, जहाँ पे ladies mirror hold करके खड़ी हैं, lipstick लगा रही हैं, the way they have combed their hair, the hairstyles, this is all on our temple walls. means that it was all stylish, it was all in,
Yes,
which is
it
why
was.
somebody actually took the efforts of engraving it, right? So once
Somewhere
it
we
started
have
looking
lost that. Yes, we've lost this. In the in our past, so many things were fed to us, purposely fed to us, that okay, you are a tribe, you don't know this, and we kept buying it for whatever reasons. Now when we talk of this, I would say that when you and me are talking, and I hope the girls out here, they would understand this, but when you're talking to a teenager, right, and she goes to a convent school, and she goes to a group wherein she is hobnobbing with everyone, and the girls and the boys, they tell her that okay, you're not in thing kinds, you're not, your dress is not a in thing, and things like that. To make her understand, there is some game we will have to play. I mean, a girl who is slightly mature to understand whatever we are talking right now, taking pride in whatever you are, it will work. But for a teenager, or I mean, we need to do something about it. That's what I was trying to tell. And I'm so happy to have attended your webinar. It's like really, really insightful and really
Thank you.
great
Thank you so
endeavor.
much. Thank you so much. So, just a very short point of that, Gitanjali ji. I think इसका बहुत simple एक solution है, and like I always say that this battle will start from every home. So, if we are worrying about the teenager, it is the parents who we need to target. It is the parents who we need to awaken, who will then tell their child that listen, कोई तो तुम्हें गलत concept बता रहा है कि बिंदी
Exactly.
और साड़ी is
True.
not fashionable. Look, you know, I am here wearing one. Am I not looking smart? I think I am. So I think this is something ये जो हर घर से शुरू होना है. So yeah.
तो हमें यंगस्टर्स से पहले उनकी मदर्स को टारगेट करना चाहिए.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I see this happening with my cousins as well, and they just don't take enough pride in themselves because उनके ऊपर कोई generation नहीं था to pass it on, and so they don't feel it important to pass it below. So whatever, however secular their child is, they're completely okay with it because they don't have that realization. So when it comes to like children and teens, if we want any behavioral changes in them, it is the parents who we have to target.
Seriously, true.
Thank you so much,
Very true.
Akshita ji. Ria, I think we have, we're using the college Zoom app, and there is another webinar lined up at 45. So I'm so sorry, it's getting so interesting, but then I promise that we will have, a connecting episode next time, definitely. Ria,
We'll
over to you if
reconnect
we can
again.
finish the formalities in 5 or 10 minutes so that, the other person doesn't get anxious. For those who are coming after us for a webinar, that's some other department. Over to you, Ria. Thank you so much, both. Thank you,
Thank you
Gitanjali.
so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Sohini to kindly give us the vote of thanks.
A very warm good afternoon and Jai Hind to one and all present here. It is my proud privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the Department of English, Arya Mahila Postgraduate College, and the Indic Warriors family. At the very outset, I would like to express my sincere and heartfelt gratitude towards our principal ma'am, Professor Rachna Dubey, and our manager, Sir, Dr. Shashikant Dikshit, for being the staunch pillar of support in all our endeavors. I would like to thank our eminent guest speaker of today, Akshita Bhadauria ma'am, for presiding over this wonderful session on cultural Marxism. I hope that the knowledge provided by you will serve us all in a good stead. I would like to thank our HOD, Dr. Bhanumati Mishra ma'am, for providing us with this opportunity of venturing beyond the periphery of bookish knowledge to seek wisdom in its true sense. Thank you so much, the organizing committee, for putting up such a brilliant webinar. I would also like to thank the faculty members for supporting us and Major Gitanjali Gerola ma'am for introducing the Indic Warriors family to us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mini shout out to Vidisha Chitravansh for handling the technical aspect of today's webinar. Thank you so much, Vidisha. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the virtual platform Zoom Cloud Meeting for providing us with this possibility of organizing such a wonderful webinar amidst the pandemic. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in, and Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully,
Thank you.
I'll see you all soon.
Very soon. We should have such
I
meetings.
request everyone to kindly stay back for a photo session. Vidhi, please do the needful. Is it done?
It is done.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining us in today.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
See you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Namaskar.
so much.
Should I end the meeting?